At 45, you can start fresh and challenge the prejudices of the showbiz world. In the late 70s, Tina moved to Las Vegas after her divorce from Ike Turner, leaving behind only her name. All rights to the Ike and Tina Turner duet legacy remained with the despot husband. It is now Vegas that attracts Celine Dion-level stars with multi-million-dollar fees to its casino-attached concert halls. Back in the 70s, when Tina Turner was a regular performer in Vegas, the city was an abandoned graveyard of once glittering quarries. Local venues resembled a pasture of fading stars desperately clinging to the last vestiges of success or relevance. Recently divorced from her abusive husband and musical partner Ike, Tina was left alone with her voice. Burdened by debt, she was forced to perform in cabaret format clubs, on specific variety shows and even as a regular on the TV quiz show Hollywood Squares to support herself and her children. All of this was happening against the backdrop of the success of artists who had previously enjoyed the same fees as Turner. She could only watch the Rolling Stones, Rod Stewart and David Bowie making stops in Vegas as part of their stadium tours. The disappointment for the ex-superstar was so intense that she decided to go for a second act. We had to start all over again, literally. It should be recalled that Tina had a major success in a duet with Ike and a small one in 1974 in her solo debut. She was not just to start a solo career, but to start a fight against the prejudices of show business. Here, age, gender and race played against her. It was common knowledge that an industry focused on new, up-and-coming talent was indifferent to a woman in her 40s who was thought to be past her peak. The best move in this party was not to follow the beaten path. Tina rejected the usual roles of soul and rhythm and blues and performed as a rock artist. She chose a very controversial image, disco rock with the face of a middle-aged punk lady. But it worked. At the same time, one should not think that rock was just an opportunistic move for Tina. Over the 2 decades of her career, she has developed excellent relationships with some of the genre's trendsetters. Rod Stewart in particular was impressed by Tina's concert in New York in October 1981 and asked her to perform with him at an upcoming show. Tina joined him at a concert in Los Angeles 2 months later. The show, broadcast worldwide and released as a live album. In addition, Tina was the opening act for the Rolling Stones at 3 shows on their Tattoo World Tour. These shows were memorable and served her well later in life. It was then that she realized that she wanted to be the first black woman on the scene. The singer revealed this in an interview with Larry King in 1997. Another fact speaks in favor of a conscious rather than opportunistic decision. The depressive themes of R&B and soul began to depress Tina, who was going through a difficult relationship with her husband. In this case, rock and roll turned out to be a kind of an elixir that had a healing effect on the singer's inner world. Rock and roll is essentially white because white people didn't really have much trouble, so they wrote about much lighter and funnier things. Because I was no longer constrained by my depressing life, I wanted to sing songs that weren't gloomy, Turner told the BBC in a 1992 interview. But it wasn't that simple. Wanting it was one thing, but convincing the record companies was another. They decided who could sing what music. In the United States, it's also impossible for a black singer to sing rock and roll. Let me remind you, this is the 80s of the 20th century. It was an accident that proved the rule: a thought always takes shape. You just have to want it badly enough. Unexpectedly, Tina receives an invitation from Progressive Europe from Martin Ware of Heaven 17 to sing a cover of The Temptations' song Ball of Confusion for their side project BF. Originally James Brown was supposed to sing, but it didn't happen. The song became a moderate hit in parts of Europe and the catalyst for Tina's solo career, introducing her to a new perspective and showing that she was more than capable of cranking out contemporary material. The track also caught the attention of A&R Capital label employee John Carter, who jumped at the idea of signing her and, against the advice of everyone else, agreed to take responsibility for the proposed album himself. Using the developments with BF as a template, Carter asked Martin and co-producer Greg Walsh to work on 2 more tracks for the album. Rejecting the offer to write original material, they were instead persuaded to use the same approach as with Ball of Confusion, reimagined versions of classic tracks. Working with a tracklist that included hits from Sam Cooke and Al Green, it was the latter's Let's Stay Together that was the obvious choice for the first single. Recorded in one take, Tina's powerful vocal ego propelled the track into the UK top 10, reaching number 6. The 26th place in the US took Capitol Records by surprise. The label, which had kept Turner in low priority mode all this time, knowing about the 10-year absence of hits, urgently commissioned John Carter to produce the album. It's fair to say he was up to the task. As hit singles, numerous awards and a world tour followed. Private Dancer was not only a colossal commercial success but also a personal triumph for Tina Turner. Having worked her way up from a penniless club singer, she defied the social constraints imposed on her by her gender, age and race to become one of the most successful artists in the history of pop and rock music. At the age of 45, Tina leapt from Private Dancers to Lord of the Dance Floor.